The first encouragement, the last sigh between those two extremes, shows the totality of existence, human, and yet so few have understood the true nature of breath. We breathe without thinking, unaware that they face ocean lies. It's a secret as old as the universe, the same if the ancients were right. The first encouragement, the last sigh, is all about the fullness of life. We're all human, and yet, most of us don't really understand the true nature of breath. We breathe without thinking, not realizing that they face ocean. It's a secret as old as the universe. If the ancients were right, if they called it prana, kai, ruach, pneuma, no, it was a mere metaphor, but it's the key to the vitality of the connection with the divine. Why has humanity forgotten the art of sarado? Breathe in the temples of Egypt, in the Tibetan monasteries, in the caves of the ascetics of India, and in the texts of medieval alchemists. It was a metaphor for the vital connection with the divine, and humanity has forgotten this. Teachings in the temples of Egypt, the Tibetan monasteries, the caves of India's ascetics, and medieval alchemists' texts spoke of a breath that was not simply oxygen, but an immaterial force that encouraged meat, and Plato's spirit hinted that the soul was like an immortal breath trapped in the body. Jesus in the Gnostic Gospels talked about a divine wind, and Hermes said that Queen suffered life to those who could receive it. The ancient teachings speak of a breath that is more than oxygen. It's an immaterial force that connects us to our spiritual side. Plato said that the soul is like an immortal breath trapped in the body. Jesus in the Gnostic Gospels talks about a divine wind that gives life to those who can receive it. Hermes described an invisible fire that I was traveling in. Inspiration came from my face. What did they know? Today, we have forgotten the ancient writings. They warned that who controls their breath controls your mind, and whoever dominates your mind will awaken their true nature. But over time, this knowledge was silenced. Megisto described an invisible fire that I was traveling in. This inspired me, and I was filled with zeal. What did they know? Today, we have forgotten the ancient writings. They warned that who controlled their breath would control your mind, and whoever dominated your mind would awaken their true nature. But over time, this knowledge was silenced. Breathing ceased to be seen as a tool for lighting and became an act of mechanical control. It was relegated to oblivion. This is not coincidence. In breath control lies the control of energy, and in the energy control lies the key to the manifestation. Those who have dominated this art have been able to alter their reality and transcend. Breathing is so much more than just a tool for lighting. It's an act of mechanical control, and it's a practice that's been around for ages. The ancient yogis discovered that by mastering breath control, they could access incredible states of awareness, where time and space seemed to melt away. They named this practice pranayama. The Taoists embraced it as a way to connect with the essence of life. The Kabbalists saw it as a way to harmonize with the sacred vibrations of names. And the initiates of various schools kept this secret with passion, sharing it with others. The limits of human perception are fascinating. There are yogis who, through pranayama, feel like they are melting time and space. The Taoists were all about harnessing this energy internally. The Kabbalists saw it as a vibration of sacred names. And the initiates of certain schools kept this secret with zeal, teaching it to those who were ready to learn. In some circles, breathing was seen as a bridge between the visible and invisible worlds. Maybe the prophets and visionaries understood this. They might have seen it as the hidden key to so much truth. It's like alchemy, you know. This book is like a journey to that knowledge. Lost throughout these pages are the practices of the initiated. There are secrets whispering in revelations, prohibited manuscripts of modern science that begin to confirm what the ancients already knew. Breathing isn't just a biological function. It's the alchemy of spirit. The bridge between you and the divine is waiting for you. But, before you go any further, I want to share something with you. This knowledge is so powerful that once you have it, you'll never be the same. You'll see it everywhere, in the rhythm of the wind, in the compass of your heart, in the flow of energy in your body. Before we go any further, I want to let you in on something. Once you have this knowledge, you'll be able to go back and see it in all parts. You'll see it in the rhythm of the wind, in the compass of your heart, and in the flow of the energy in your body. You'll understand that the way you breathe affects your vitality and shapes your destiny. You'll discover that inhalation is like a creative act, and exhalation is like a release. You're about to reveal a secret that has remained hidden for centuries, not because it was meant to stay hidden. You've got this incredible ability to shape your journey and unlock hidden secrets. We're about to share with you some really special insights that have been tucked away for a long time. But the world has forgotten how to listen. Now, knowledge has come to you. So, are you ready to breathe? The Esoterics of the Bridge Lost, written and published by Listening. All rights reserved. We've noticed that more than 90% of you haven't subscribed to our channel yet. If you're reading this, please consider subscribing and supporting this project by pressing the subscribe button. We'd love to hear from you and know that you're enjoying the content we're creating. You're ready to transform your life. Chapter 1, The Breath and Veil of the Reality. Breathing is the first step. The act of life and the final act before death are like a subtle dance. In this dance, the air we breathe in and out holds a secret that the ancients understood, but we modern folks have forgotten. Breathing isn't just about taking in air. It's like a bridge connecting us to other dimensions and opening our eyes to a world beyond what we can see. The ancient alchemists called this energy the subtle spirit that flows in all things. The Corpus Hermeticum Magisto taught that breath was the way to connect with the divine mind, the invisible current linking the earthly and celestial realms. It wasn't just a simple function, physiological, but a current vibration that resonates with the structure itself. Universe breathing was more than just a simple act. It was a beautiful process of transformation. When you absorbed your breath, it drew in the essence of the cosmos, and when you exhaled, you projected your will into the world. But this knowledge, it's not just the hermetist in the Cabal who knows the secrets of the breath. It's seen as the invisible thread that unites the spheres of the tree of life. The Hebrew word for breath means spirit and text. Esoterically, it's described that when we inhale with consciousness, we can tune in with emanations. The beautiful thing about the Hebrew word rot is that it means breath and spirit, and it's used in esoteric texts. When we inhale with awareness, we can attune ourselves to our inner essence. In the beautiful stories of the Kabbalistic superiors, God created humanity by infusing us with His breath. This divine breath is the essence of life, and it's also the path through which our souls can rise and connect with their true essence. The Hermetic texts and Kabbalistic teachings are in harmony. Breathing is a fundamental act of connection that links us to a reality that is vast and beautiful. In Kabbalah, the principle of vibration says that everything moves and nothing is still. This isn't just a pretty saying, it's a law that governs our existence. Our breath, in its rhythm, is constant and intimate. You know, it's so interesting how we can actually see this truth in our lives when we breathe from the unconscious. It's like we're stuck in the regular, everyday flow of life. But when we focus on our breathing and choose to be present, it's amazing how we can shift our energy and, in turn, the whole world around us. It's like everything is a vibration, and everything is always moving and changing. So, breathing becomes this beautiful thread that connects our mind and our body. The rhythm of our breath influences how we feel, and our feelings affect how we see the world around us. Yodis says that our mind is like a constant, steady breath, but sometimes it gets a little wild and erratic. It's a bit of a roller coaster, but when it's calm, you can feel your mind really quiet down and open up to a deeper level of understanding of the arts. The ancient Egyptians had this really cool understanding of it, and they used it in their practices. Priests would do breathing exercises before rituals to get in sync with the energy of the gods in the ancient Greek temples. The oracles would use breathing techniques to reach trance states where they could receive messages from the divine. In the tradition of suffering, breathing is a cornerstone of their practice. They would repeat the name of God over and over, which would elevate their soul. Hey, friend. So, above the illusion of the world, material on all these paths, spiritual breathing is not seen as an unconscious act, but as a key to penetrate the veil of reality and access more knowledge deep within. When the breath is controlled, you can enter a state in which the adity between the subject and the object is dissolved, where the observer and the observed become one. Just breaking the veil of illusion, the reality we perceive is a reflection of our vibration, internal. If breathing is the bridge between the material and spiritual worlds, what happens when we learn to modify its rhythm and depth? The esoteric traditions teach that there's a magical moment between being awake and falling asleep. It's a threshold where our senses can expand beyond what we're used to. In ancient mysteries, shamans used this state to travel to other dimensions. Mystics, like those in Christianity, experienced it as divine ecstasy. Buddhist monks reached a deep state of meditation. What sets those who go beyond the veil apart is how they breathe. When our breathing is shallow and choppy, our awareness becomes fragmented. Reality becomes a chaotic whirlwind. But when take a deep, conscious breath, feel your mind clear up and become aware. It's no coincidence that mystics of all traditions have used breathing techniques to reach meditative states. Breathing lighting is finding the hidden rhythm of the universe. It's the flow of life and death, the oscillation of existence. When you learn to breathe with your consciousness, you'll discover that the border between the visible and the invisible is only in your mind. The air that enters your lungs is more than oxygen, it's a vibration, an energy, a consciousness. Consciousness is the bridge between your mind and the cosmos. Most people live without realizing this. Every time you breathe in, it's like a little window into a bigger, more expansive reality. Those who have learned to breathe their best can tap into levels of perception that, to most of us, seem like magic. It's not just some philosophical idea or mystical practice, it's a real science that's been around for ages. When you breathe, it's like you're giving your body and mind a little boost. It regulates the nervous system, changes the brain chemistry, and even adjusts the body's vibrational frequency. It's as simple as breathing, but it's also a powerful tool for transformation. Start by taking a moment to be aware with each breath. That's the first step on the path to expanding your perception. It's like the key that unlocks the door to a new world of possibilities. It's like a bridge connecting the finite with the infinite. And if this is just the beginning, the question is inevitable: what else is there on the other side of the breathing? Chapter 2. Chi, prana, and divine sobro breath is more than air, more than the mechanics of the lungs expanding and contracting. It's like a current, invisible, that crosses all things. It's the primary force that encourages the matter and the awareness of the ancients. They had no doubt about some of his existence. For them, breathing was only a biological function, but it was the way the body was tuned with the energy held by the universe. In India, the breath we call prana is like the lifeblood that courses through every living being. In China, they lovingly referred to it as Kai, a gentle and elusive essence that nourishes both our bodies and spirits. In the Hebrew tradition, they embrace the name Ruach, a word that beautifully captures the idea of a divine breath that gives form to the creation. It's fascinating how different names can capture the same essence. This energy, this flow, and this transformative power are everywhere, just like the fundamental force that permeates everything in the universe. The breath we call prana is vital to each and every living being. In China, they lovingly referred to it as Kai, the essence that nourishes our bodies and spirits. In the Hebrew tradition, they embrace the name Ruach, meaning divine breath that gives form to the creation. It's beautiful to see how different names can represent the same reality. This energy that flows, moves, and transforms is like the fundamental force that permeates the cosmos. It's not just oxygen, but an ethereal substance that the Ivis have learned to absorb and direct consciously. In the Upanishads, there's an old verse that beautifully explains this. It compares prana to bees collecting honey from various flowers, where the essence of each flower becomes one with the honey. This is like how prana, the weapon of all things, becomes one with the air of the universe. Chandya Upanishad 3:101. Breathing is the pathway that allows us to drink from the well of universal life and grow in our awareness. In the Taoist tradition, Kai is the breath that keeps harmony between heaven and earth. It's the force that flows through our bodies, and we can nurture it to reach a state of long life and spiritual awakening. Laos in the Tao Te Ching said that when you breathe with softness and depth, it's like being a child, a newborn who controls their breath. This is important because it helps you reach your destination. In Chapter 10, the old Taoist teachers talked about how they practice embryonic breathing. This is a technique that seeks to return to the original state of being, to the natural flow of vital energy before it was altered by the world. Conditioning, deep and conscious breathing was your method to restore connection with the Tao, the supreme principle that everything it covers. But among all the visions of vital energy, may none be so symbolic and transcendental as Hebrew Conception el Ruach in the Ruach Kabbalistic tradition. It is so much encouragement for spirit and in your deeper meaning represents the primary. The beautiful story of creation in the book of Genesis is written, and the Spirit of God, Ruach Elohim, moved over the face of the waters in Genesis 1. The wind was not just any ordinary wind, but the energy it gave form to brought existence into being. It was God's breath, life in the mud, the same breath that crossed the prophets and granted them visions beyond time. For Kabbalists, this breath is not something alien, it is something we can all relate to. Each time we take a breath, we are in touch with our true self, waiting to be recognized and used. Sipper. If they are manifestations of the same universal force, then the breathing is more than a need. It's the most sacred act we can do. Breathing allows us to participate in the Kre flow. It's like cosmic dance, uniting the visible with the invisible. Our great teachers understood this, and they applied it in their practices. If we think about it, it's really beautiful how we're all in this together. If we're all manifestations of the same universal force, then our breathing is more than just a need, it's a beautiful thing. Breathing is one of the most sacred acts we can do. It's like we're dancing with the cosmos, moving our bodies and souls in harmony. The great teachers didn't just understand this, they also put it into practice in their lives. Spiritual masters in Tibet found ways to expand their awareness through pranayama, or controlled breathing. Taoist monks directed the Kai, or life force energy, through the Kang, or the energy center located between the eyebrows. Jewish mystics raise their spirits by reciting sacred names rhythmically. And this knowledge isn't just limited to certain cultures or eras. In the first centuries of Christianity, desert parents practiced a form of breathing that helped them reach states of being. Of lightning Evagrio Pontico, a monk from the 4th century, once shared a beautiful practice. He believed that prayer and breath can be a beautiful dance. With each breath, we're connected to something divine. This idea stuck around through the centuries, even making its way into Orthodox practice. They would repeat prayers from the heart, matching their breath with their prayers, until they reached a deep and mystical connection with God. I totally get it. They really understood this idea in their tradition. The breath is like a rope that connects our soul to the person we love. It's a way to let our search engine go beyond ourselves and melt into the vastness. The great poet Rumi wrote about this, saying that if you breathe with love, the air will become light within you. But if you breathe with fear, the breath will feel like a burden. And if you breathe with devotion, it will feel so light. The whole universe is here to answer you. Before the Sufi, the breath is like the echo of the original verb, the sacred residue of that first sound with which it was created. The world. If all these traditions agree on something, it's that breathing isn't just about life. It can be directed, channeled, and refined to expand consciousness. But it's not just about understanding. The secret of breath is all in the practice. When you learn to breathe with intention, you become the master of the art of absorbing and releasing breath. The ancient teachers discovered that reality is much more malleable than it seems. They found that matter is nothing more than a sustained vibration in a rhythm determined by everything that is. The secret of life is all about breath. It's not in some old books or far-off temples, but right here, right now, in the simple act of breathing. It's something many of us have forgotten or never knew. But some have found a way to break through the walls of perception and feel the truth in the most everyday moments. Breathing is the key to changing the melody of life. Isn't it amazing that the secret of the universe isn't found in libraries or temples, but in something so simple and accessible as breathing? Yet, only a few have truly understood this. Only a few have broken through the veil of perception and felt the infinite presence of breath. It's the first thing we're born with and the last thing we learn when we die. But what happens in the middle? How many have learned to use this gift? Did they learn from Chapter 3, Secrets of Breath in the Gospels? In the Christian tradition, before the ecclesiastical, they started to look for the divine through knowledge and experience in texts called apocryphal Gospels. These texts were rejected by the Orthodox Church. We find fragments of a teaching that was lost. We see a vision of Christ who preached not only with words, but also with vibrations in symbols of the most subtle forces. This is the most beautiful part of the Gospel of Thomas, one of the jewels of Gnosticism. Find a key that you have known. Interpretation. Jesus says that the Spirit is the reason for existence. The body is wonderful, but it has come for the sake of the Spirit, which is truly a wonder. Here, the natural order of things challenges the materialistic perception of the world. Spirit is not a product of the flesh, but its animating principle. But how does the spirit in the body manifest itself? In Gnostic thought, encouragement is a big deal. God's love isn't just about giving life, it's about connecting us with everything and letting us see beyond the illusion of separation. In the Gospel of Philippi, the connection between breathing and evil is made even clearer. The truth didn't just appear in the world, it came wrapped up in images and symbols. And what is life without breath? A living thing. The image of the invisible spirit is so important, especially when Felipe talks about how the water baptism is like a shadow of a big mystery. There's this other kind of baptism that's not outside, but inside. It's like a breath baptism of the breath of consciousness, where inspiration becomes an act of absorbing the divinity. In some old texts, there's a lot of talk about constant salvation not being an outside event. A revelation from the inside is not a final judgment. It's more like a gentle nudge to pay attention right now. This kind of awakening doesn't happen in the abstract mind, but in the body, through the vibration of the breath. Who knew these secrets? They knew that breathing could be used as a living sacrament, a direct bridge to the divine. In Gnostic traditions, Jesus is described not only as a master of the word as like a breath of fresh air. In the movie The Contender, there's a part where Jesus tells his disciples, "I've given you the power to soar like birds, to rise up and spread your wings." The wind is like that, it's invisible but powerful, moving through all of creation without being seen. Here, the breath is a symbol of spirit, and it's also a way to connect with the divine. In another Gnostic text, Pistis Sophia, Jesus lovingly guides his followers towards a deeper understanding of the true baptism of fire and spirit. He gently differentiates this sacred practice from external rituals, explaining that the divine breath is the key to rising to the spheres. This beautiful teaching will resonate for centuries, finding expression in the esoteric breathing techniques of Christianity in the East. In these techniques, breath becomes the medium through which we can connect with the divine. The spirit moves that implies breathing in, way unconscious, is not a connection from the source for the world's Gnostics. Material is a prison created by forces that Gnostics want to maintain, being caught in the illusion of separation. But there is an exit, and it's not external, it's in the body itself. If you use your breath correctly, it becomes the rope that allows you to rise in the secret to recovering lost memory of spirit. This wonderful teaching is found in more than just the Gnostic Gospels. In the beautiful tradition of Manichaean Gnosticism, a current that tried to bring together the secrets of the East and West, it is said that the breath is the only part of a human being that hasn't been corrupted by the worldly material. The meat is trapped in time, and the mind is shaped by illusions of the demiurge. The breath remains pure, so in their sacred rituals, the initiated learn to breathe consciously as a way to purify themselves. Each time they exhale, they release the influence of the worldly illusions. The heirs of Cathars, Gnosticism in medieval Europe had a ceremony called the Consolidum. It was a lighting rite that didn't require water or fire, but the imposition of. In this sacred ritual, the hands and the breath are the conduits for receiving the divine. The adept is guided not by external symbols, but rather, through the breath of an initiate, in a gesture that echoes the moment Jesus imbued his disciples with the power of the divine. If we delve deeper into these teachings, we discover that breathing is more than just a biological function, it's a portal to a realm that we all possess within. Temples? No. They needed mediators because they had the key to accessing divinity within themselves. Maybe these doctrines and their destroyed texts were persecuted. Your followers were eradicated because if the breath is enough to reach the conscious level, it can break the chains of perception. If we reduce breathing to a simple automatism, then any structure of control can collapse. Today, when breathing has been reduced to a simple automatism, it's so sad that knowledge has been fragmented and dispersed. These ancient teachings resonate with a clarity that just breaks my heart. The Gnostic texts were convicted as heresy, but his message is still intact. The kingdom of God is both outside and inside, and the key to enter in him is none other than his own breath. The question is not whether this knowledge is real, but why he has been forgotten. Who decided that the breathing is something we all do without even thinking about it, and it's something that's been really helpful for a lot of people. It's easy to get lost in our own thoughts and forget to breathe. But maybe the answer to this question is found in the old manuscripts that were burned during the Inquisition. Or maybe it's right here, right now, in this very moment. So, take a deep breath, and let yourself be guided by Chapter 4, The Science of Breathing and Resonance, Quantum Breath. Air is so much more than we can see. It's a beautiful energy, a gentle rhythm, and a vibration in movement. For thousands of years, wise people have known that breathing can help us feel more aware, heal our bodies, and access deeper levels of our being. They used metaphors and symbols to talk about this because they couldn't explain it in a way we can understand today. But now, in a world that needs language to understand the world around us, physics is starting to show us what they knew all along. Mystics have always known that our breath influences our bodies and the electromagnetic field that surrounds them. Each cell in our bodies vibrates in harmony with the structure of the universe. This is the basis of physics. Quantum matter is not solid, but rather an oscillation pattern organized by invisible forces. What we call reality is a constant particle dance. Movement and perception go hand in hand. They're like a beautiful dance of frequencies, all connected and working together. Every part of our body is like a little compass in this grand symphony of life. When we learn to harmonize our rhythm inside, it's like we open a portal to a world of healing. The curious cardiac coherence study by the EM Pioneer Institute discovered that the heart generates a field that can be measured. Movement and perception are so interesting. They are actually a framework of frequencies that are interconnected and influence each other. But here's the cool part, every atom in our body is like a compass in the cosmic symphony that happens when we learn to control our rhythm. The EM Pioneer Institute in the Curiosity Cardiac Coherence Study found that the heart generates a measurable electromagnetic field that varies according to the emotional state in the rhythm. And our respiratory system is not just a way to breathe, it's a wave generator that influences everything in our organism. When we breathe consciously in a deep and stable rhythm, this field enters coherence, meaning it synchronizes with a harmonic pattern that regulates. The electromagnetic field is really something special. It changes depending on how we're feeling and our breathing. When we breathe deeply and steadily, it's like our body is on a deep, steady rhythm. This field gets into sync with a nice, harmonious pattern that not only regulates our nervous system, but also affects how we see and interact with the world around us. Studies on bioluminescence have shown that cells emit light at frequencies that are almost too small for us to see. In the past, spiritual leaders might have seen this as the aura, which changes with our breathing. When we're breathing quickly and not very deeply, the light we give off is weaker. But when we breathe deeply and steadily, it's like we're lighting up the whole room. Rhythmic light cells help us breathe more deeply and comfortably. They also help our bodies show off our energy in new and exciting ways. Quantum resonance is another field that shows us just how powerful encouragement can be. In particle physics, resonance happens when something outside is in sync with the natural frequency of a system, making it stronger. This is the same idea that rhythmic light cells help us breathe more deeply and comfortably. They also help us radiate our energy more strongly. Quantum resonance is another field that shows how powerful encouragement can be in particle physics. When an external oscillation coincides with the natural frequency of a system, it amplifies its energy. This is the same principle that allows an opera singer to break a crystal with their voice if they match its vibration. You can use breathing to regulate your body's internal frequency. By tuning in with more energy fields, the Tibetan monks have practiced for centuries the tumo, a breathing technique that generates heat in the body and allows practitioners to withstand extreme temperatures. Have you ever thought about how opera singers can break a crystal with their voice? Well, it's all thanks to their ability to match the vibration of the crystal with their own voice. You can also try tuning in with more energy fields by breathing in a certain way. Tibetan monks have been doing this for centuries. They call it the tumo technique, and it involves breathing in a certain way to generate heat inside the body. Even better, it doesn't seem to affect their bodily functions. Scientists have been studying this phenomenon, and they've found that controlled breathing can actually activate the nervous system. This was something that scientists thought was impossible until recently. The WM-HAF method has shown similar results. It involves deep and rhythmic breathing, which has been shown to activate the immune system and alter perceptions of cold and pain. In modern neuroscience, the respiratory rhythm is linked directly to the activity of the prefrontal cortex. This is the brain region associated with awareness, decisions, and perception of time. Experiments with meditators have shown that those who practice controlled breathing can alter your temporal experience, can slow down the feeling of minutes passing, and even expand your perception of the present. But that's not all. Recent research in quantum acoustics shows that certain frequencies can modify mental states and emotions. If vibration is the key, and if breathing regulates the vibration of the body, then Your temporal experience can slow down the feeling of passing minutes and even expand your perception of the present. Recent research in quantum acoustics has shown that certain frequencies can modify mental states and emotional responses. If the vibration is the key, and if breathing regulates the vibration of the body, then the way we breathe can literally adjust our frequency and, with it, our interaction with reality. Roberts' experiments revealed that the synchronization of brain waves with specific breathing patterns can induce states of transcendence and experiences outside the body. It's not about superstition, but about neuroscience. Our breathing is the only thing we can consciously control that also regulates our body's automatic responses. Science and ancient wisdom, the mystics, have something in common here. They talk about breathing like a door to the divine. Science has discovered that our breathing modifies our brain. Breathing is a topic that's close to our hearts here at Superstition, and it's fascinating to see how it connects to neuroscience and the mystics. There's a beautiful synergy between the conscious control we have over our breathing and the involuntary responses of our bodies. It's like a door to a deeper, more spiritual connection. Science and ancient wisdom tell us that our breath affects the chemistry and vibration of our cells. Our teachers have always said that breath control can take us to higher states of consciousness. And quantum physics suggests that our internal resonance can alter our perception of reality. After all, matter is energy, and energy is vibration. Breathing is the key to shaping the very fabric of our experience. Chemistry and vibration. Our beloved teachers used to say that controlling our breath can help us access higher states of consciousness. Now, quantum physics tells us that our internal resonance can actually alter our perception of reality. If matter is energy and energy is vibration, then breathing is the key to modifying the very structure of our experience. It's not just about being, but also about transformation. Deep, conscious breathing not only calms the mind, but also adjusts the body to a more harmonious frequency. It synchronizes the heart with an electromagnetic field, amplifies the biological light of the cells, and aligns us with patterns of resonance that affect our relationship with the world. The question is not whether breathing has power, but how we use it. Until now, we might have underestimated your impact. What else could the science know? When you stop seeing the body as a machine and understand it as a vibration system that's all connected, what else could it know? The ancient ones knew that we are barely rediscovering the fact that breathing influences the vibration of being. If that's the case, then face-in is an opportunity to tune in with. We didn't realize before just how important you are. When we start to see our bodies as a kind of vibration system that's all connected, we open up a whole new world of possibilities. The ancient ones already knew that our breath has a huge impact on our vibration. So, this is our chance to connect with a whole new frequency. Breathing isn't just a simple automatic act. It's a tool for creation. And if we learn to use it consciously, we can create a whole new reality. In Chapter 5, we'll explore the ancient art of breathing, and how it was used in the most sacred places like the temples of Egypt, hidden cameras of the initiated, and sculpted monasteries in the Tibetan mountains. It was a kind of mechanical act, or maybe just a simple biological need. It was like a ritual, a sacred art, a spiritual technology. Only those who crossed the threshold of knowledge could understand and practice it. Amon-Ra priests, guardians of the solar mysteries, taught their disciples that breathing was the first invocation, a silent prayer that aligned the body with cosmic rhythms. Breathing was more than just a mechanical act or a simple biological need, it was a sacred ritual, a form of art, and a spiritual technology. Only those who had crossed the threshold of knowledge could understand and practice it. Amon-Ra priests, guardians of the solar mysteries, taught their disciples that breathing was the first invocation, a silent prayer that aligned the body with cosmic rhythms. Each inhalation was an echo of the first encouragement that Atum, the primary god, exhaled when shaping the universe. In the hidden hieroglyphs on the walls of Karnak and in the funeral texts of the Book of the Dead, it is mentioned that the soul of a pharaoh had to learn to control their breath to cross the Adat kingdoms. The intermediate dimension between life and death was not in the beautiful tradition of the Vedas. Breathing was more than just a way to catch your breath, it was a way to live forever. The wise people of the Los Risis understood that the breath wasn't just about oxygen, it was also about prana. This is a special energy that connected the tiny world inside us with the vast world around us. And when the mantras of the Vedas were spoken with a steady, rhythmic voice, They weren't just words, they were a way to connect with the universe and feel its love and energy flowing through us. In the beautiful tradition of the Vedic people, breathing was more than just getting oxygen, it was a way to connect with the energy that flows through everything. The sacred songs, or mantras, were more than just words. They were tools that, when used with breathing, could open doors in our minds. One of the most ancient mantras, Som, says, I am that repeat in the breath cycle. So to inhale, am to exhaling, who will dominate this practice? The wise ones understood that the idea of separation was an illusion. The Taoists also perfected the art of breathing to control the energy inside the body. They had a deep belief in the existence of the I, and they had developed precise techniques to direct it inside the body. They practiced embryonic breathing, a practice reserved for the most advanced, which imitated the breath of a Kato in the womb. They slowed down their breathing until it was imperceptible. The practitioner entered into a state of suspension where time dissolved and the body turned self. They had a deep belief in the energy known as Kai, and had developed very precise techniques to direct it inside the body. One of these techniques was something called embryonic breathing. This was a practice reserved for the most advanced practitioners. It imitated the breath of a fetus in the womb, slowing down the breathing until it was imperceptible. The practitioner entered into a state of suspension where time dissolved and the body turned self-sufficient, drawing nourishment directly from the energy of the cosmos. It was said that the great Taoist immortals did not need food or water, but only controlled their absolute breathing. In the Tibet mountains, in the gloom of the monasteries, the esoteric Buddhism monks practiced the tummo, or breathing of fire. During interior nights covered only with a dharma robe, they entered respiratory. In the old days, people used to practice trance to help them survive in really extreme temperatures. But trance wasn't just about surviving, it was also a way to kindle the kundalini fire. By doing this, people could reach a state of pure ecstasy and feel connected to the divine. If these traditions have something special, it's because they are so deeply rooted in our history. Tummo was more than just a survival technique, it was a way to ignite the kundalini fire, a serpentine energy that slept at the base of the column. Through this practice, adepts could reach states of ecstasy and connect with the divine. If these traditions have something in common, it's the understanding that breathing is much more than just a biological act. It's a spiritual technology, a ritual art that allows us to expand our awareness and access hidden realities. This knowledge isn't just limited to Eastern traditions. In the most Christian tradition, breathing was used as a bridge towards enlightenment in monasteries. The monks and nuns of Byzantium practiced it. We all know that breathing is so much more than just a biological process. It's like a spiritual technology, a beautiful ritual art that can change our awareness and open doors to hidden realities. And this knowledge isn't just limited to one tradition. In the Christian tradition, breathing was used as a way to connect with the divine. The monks and priests in Byzantium would pray with their hearts, breathing in and out of the divine name, until they reached a state of mystical union. In Christianity, there's this esoteric idea that Jesus taught his disciples privately, and it says that those who mastered this practice could do miracles, heal people with their voice, and even alter matter with the power of vibration. The prayer of the heart, the divine name, and the breath, together, they create a beautiful connection with the divine. In Christianity, this practice of mystical union has been talked about. It's said that Jesus taught his disciples privately about this secret, and that those who mastered it could perform miracles, heal with voice, and alter matter with the vibration of. Your encouragement has been passed down through the initiatory orders of the West, and it's also part of the Hermetic tradition. Breathing was the basis of magic practice, as discussed by the Rosicrucians. I started a breath that contained the transmuted energy of the practitioner, and it could be directed towards the manifestation of your will in the rituals of the alchemists. Conscious breathing accompanied the transformation of the elements is something that's really important. It's all thanks to the operator air, which influenced the process of alchemy as well as the breath of God in the soul via clay. The idea of primordial ritual breathing isn't just some made-up story. It's a real knowledge that was carefully kept and passed down in whispers, hidden in symbols and practices that only the initiated could understand. It's no coincidence that in most ancient cultures, understanding was a big deal. The transformation of elements is influenced by the power of air, just like the breath of God in the primordial clay. Ritual breathing isn't just a metaphor, it's a deeply held knowledge that was passed down with care, in whispers, and through symbols and practices that only the initiated could understand. It's no coincidence that in many ancient rites, the first step outside the regulation of breath was to harmonize your internal vibration with the pulse of the universe. But if this knowledge was so powerful, why did it disappear? Today, the breath has become unconscious, just a physiological function. The modern world is so anxious and chaotic. The breath has become fragmented. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's like we've lost our way a bit, and we're not sure how to find our center. It's like we've become disconnected from our breath, and that's making it hard to feel connected to the source. It's no surprise that old wisdom school said that it's important to take control of your breathing before you try any other spiritual practice. The art of ritual breathing isn't just some old thing from the past, it's still out there, waiting for us to rediscover it. You know, they don't just find peace and clarity. They also reactivate an inheritance that was hidden for centuries. This inheritance reminds us that the air we breathe is more than just air. It's a vibration, an energy, the echo of the first divine breath. Those who achieve this knowledge will understand the simple but profound principle: who dominates his breathing, dominates. You know, they find peace and clarity. They also reactivate an inheritance that was hidden for centuries. This inheritance reminds us that the air we breathe is more than just air. It's a vibration, an energy, the echo of the first divine breath. Those who achieve this knowledge will understand the simple but profound principle: who dominates his breathing, dominates. Breathing is a tool. Light breath is the border between human and divine. It's no accident that the stories of the enlightened, from the wise Vedic to the Christian saints, coincide at a point on their way to each other. Each of them discovered the hidden power of breathing, not through theory, but through direct experience in the body, immobility. It's so wonderful to see more and more people becoming aware of the many different traditions that share similar ideas. It's like they are all pointing us towards a bigger, more infinite picture. In the Vedic texts, they tell us that the wise sages of ancient India had these incredible breathing techniques that made their bodies seem to become timeless. One of the most intriguing stories is that of Babaji, the immortal. It's amazing to think that through his pranayama is such an incredible practice, isn't it? Babaji stopped depending on sleep, food, and even time. His breathing became so subtle that his body stopped aging. In his famous Unji autobiography, Parami Yogananda assures us that there has not been a change in its existence for centuries. But in the context of the old teachings, your secret is clear: the breathing is. In traditional Taoist teachings, we find beautiful stories that offer us a path to transcend the human condition. Taoist Shan, also known as immortals, practiced a technique that imitated the rhythm of the Kato in the belly. Theory: before birth, the human being breathes from a pure way, directly with the energy primordial. When we recover that pattern, the body stops consuming. It's so important to take care of yourself and find ways to recharge. There are these old stories about Penzu, a Taoist teacher who lived over 800 years ago. One of the things he was known for was his ability to control his breath. Whether there's a literal or symbolic truth to these stories is up for debate, but the message is really beautiful. It says that our breath connects us to the divine, and this knowledge wasn't just exclusive to the East. In the monasteries were also a way to connect with the divine. San Serafin di Sero, an Orthodox mystic from the 19th century, reached incredible states of ecstasy through repeating the prayer of the synchronized heart with your breathing. Your followers found themselves in a state of being surrounded by a light that seemed to come from within, not from an external source. The monks of the monasteries were so devoted to their practice that they found ways to use breathing as a form of prayer. This led them to reach incredible states of ecstasy. One such monk, Saint Serafin di Sero, was an Orthodox mystic from the 19th century. He said that when the Spirit of God descends upon a man, his soul is filled with an unspectacular peace. His body becomes light, and his face shines with a divine light. The mystical texts of primitive Christianity talk about breathing as a form of silent prayer. This was one of the deepest practices of Orthodox Christianity. It was based on the repetition of the prayer Kyrie eleison. The monks perfected a technique that involves breathing rhythmically to reach a state of ecstasy where they say they can see a light. This light is a manifestation of a divine presence. In the 14th century, the theologian Gregorio Palamas said that this practice is the best way to achieve union with God. He said that breathing with loving devotion, the monks perfected this technique. entering transcendent states where they witnessed the divine light. The respected theologian, Gregorio Palamas, in the 14th century, embraced this practice as a way to reach a deep and abiding connection with the divine. He believed that when our breaths are in harmony with the rhythm of life, they can carry us to a place beyond thought and time. The annals of Christian history are filled with accounts of saints who experienced profound spiritual awakening through their breathing practices. Saint Teresa de Avila, for instance, described her mystical experiences as a sensation where her breathing became so subtle that it appeared to cease. The poet San Juan de la Cruz also spoke of this connection between breath and spiritual enlightenment. The practice of regulated breathing can transport us to a state beyond thought, beyond time. The history of the saints and Christians is marked by references to static experiences linked to Santa Teresa de Avila's breath. She described her mystical trances as a sensation in which her breathing became so subtle that it seemed to stop. San Juan de la Cruz spoke of a breath of fire, a state where the spirit absorbed divine breath. In his poem, L'Ama di Ama Viva wrote, "Or soft or gifted quartry and hand, soft or delicate touch that has life eternal knows, and all that shovel-killing death in life you have. What is this death in life but the dissolution of the self through control of breath? Those who have in the gentle embrace of a loved one, or the soothing caress of a soft touch, we find a whisper of the divine. The eternal flame of life, kindled by the breath that gives us life, also extinguishes our mortal coil." The art of deep breathing, practiced in meditation, is a journey into the depths of our being, where the body's sensations yield to a state of pure being. Breathing, the ancient path to enlightenment, has been overshadowed by the dogmas of organized religions. But the answer to the question of life and death lies not in words, but in the practice of breathing, the soft and delicate touch that connects us to the divine. Have you ever experienced the deep breathing in meditation? It's incredible how the sensation of your body disappears, and you are left with this vast, silent immensity. It's fascinating how breathing is the oldest tool for reaching the lighting, and yet, so many of us have forgotten this art. In today's organized religions, the emphasis is on the word, but not on the control of breath. The answer is clear: who dominates their breathing, dominates their mind. And once you start to dominate your mind, you don't need newspapers to access the divine. The mystics of all traditions have something in common: the lighting is not an intellectual process, but a vibrational one. It's not accessed through thought, but through direct experience. And breathing is the only element of the body that can serve as a conscious bridge between the material and the spiritual. Heartbeats occur without our will, and digestion happens without our intervention. But our response to breathing is different. We can let it flow automatically, or we can direct it to modify our rhythm or change our depth. That's where its power lies. In esoteric traditions, we believe that the air we breathe is more than just air. It's a living, breathing thing that carries the vibration of life. But sometimes, we get caught up in the illusion of separation. But when we breathe with intention, we can get back to a place of harmony and balance. The stories of the enlightened are like fairy tales, but they are not just made up. They are real testimonies to what it means to be a true spiritual being. My dearest friends, the wise traditions of our culture teach us that the air we breathe is not just air. It carries the strength of life and the vibration that supports our existence. But sometimes, we can get so caught up in our daily lives that we forget this. When we breathe with intention, we can feel a state of humidity. The stories of the enlightened ones are like fairy tales or exaggerations, but they come from people who have crossed the threshold and directly experienced what most of us can only imagine. Even the monks of Mont Athos left the same teaching: breathing. It's not enough to understand this. You have to practice it and experience what happens when the breath turns. Of those who have crossed the threshold, many have experienced what most of us can only imagine. The monks of Mont Athos have left the same teaching: breathing. It is the key. But it's not enough to understand it. You have to experience what happens when the breath turns. Be aware when inhalation stops being a mechanical act and becomes an invocation. Because the real question is not if breathing can take us to the light. The real question is how much more time we will continue ignoring its power. Chapter 7, The Necronomicon and the Breathing of Abyss. There are books that illuminate and books that condemn. Some sacred texts offer redemption, while others hint at secrets that no one should. A few hidden literature works have aroused so much fear and fascination as the Necronomicon, also known as the Book of the Dead. It is attributed to the Arabic wizard, Crazy Abdul, It is said that in its pages, they find formulas capable of summoning entities beyond the time of. There are some sacred texts that offer hope and others that hint at secrets that no one should have. Very few hidden literature works have aroused so much fear and fascination as the Necronomicon, also known as the Book of the Dead. It is said that in its pages, you can find formulas capable of summoning entities beyond the time of, altering the perception of reality and opening doors to dimensions unexplored. But among the enchants and gums, there is an element recurring that few have noticed, the breathing in fragments that have survived censorship and destruction. It is mentioned that certain rituals demand precise control of the breath to reach states of perception altered. There's a lot of talk about breathing techniques that take you to other dimensions. Some of these techniques are said to be so powerful that they can actually change the very fabric of space and time. It's almost like they open a portal to another world, or maybe even to another dimension. There's some talk about breathing in the abyss, which is a rhythm that's not of this world. But, in some dark passages, it seems like this technique doesn't just change how you feel, it also changes the very structure of space and time. Medieval grimoires, which are books of magic, have references to breathing patterns in their most dangerous rituals. In the Picatrix, an astral magic treaty that was prohibited for centuries, it's explained that the static states needed to call higher intelligences depend on controlled breathing. It's not enough to just pronounce a name, it has to be exhaled with the right cadence. The idea that breathing is a key part of this process is also mentioned in the Renaissance alchemical treatise. They talk about how breathing is like a seal, a magical sign that connects an intention with a tangible result. But here's the catch, it's not just about breathing. In the Picatrix, a text on astral magic that was out of bounds for a long time, they say that the right kind of breathing is crucial for invoking higher intelligences. It's not just about taking a deep breath. To really connect with a higher power, you have to inhale and exhale at the right pace. In the study of Gosha, a type of magic that focuses on calling upon dark entities, we see a similar idea. Every spell and word of power is said to have power only if it's done with the right kind of breathing. The Lemegeton, another text on magic, warns us that the names of spirits need to be said with the right breath. When you visualize a symbol, you're actually absorbing it with your breath. In studies on the Gosha, a branch of magic dedicated to invoking dark entities, we find a similar principle. Each spell and each word of power is only effective if it is signed with breath. In the Lemegeton, it is warned that the names of the spirits must be pronounced with an exact rhythm, as the air that emanates from the adept is the rope that joins their will with the kingdom of shadows. This idea is repeated in Renaissance alchemical treatises, where breathing is described as the magician's seal, the element that converts an intention into a tangible manifestation. But what happens when the breathing is not used for that exact rhythm, as the air that emanates from adept is the rope that joins his will with the kingdom of shadows? This idea is repeated in Renaissance alchemical treatises, where breathing is described as the magician's seal, the element that converts an intention into a tangible manifestation. But what happens when breathing is not used for lighting, but to explore the limits of prohibited knowledge? What occurs when breath is not a connection tool with the divine, but a vehicle to access forces and human stories of occultists? Modern suggestions say that breathing can be used as a channel for contact with intelligences that escape human understanding. Kenneth Grant, a disciple of Aleister Crowley, and Kenneth Grant, a student of Aleister Crowley and one of the most important figures in the occult of the 20th century, wrote in his work Neats of Hedon that certain breathing patterns can open a door to a different perception, what he called set tunnels. These tunnels go beyond the traditional tree of life, where prehuman entities reside. In Crowley's magic system, breathing plays a role. Central to the famous Libro, he describes techniques to modify consciousness through breath and letters. Samat used in contact rituals with the Holy Guardian Angel establishes that the mantra's recitation must be made with a precise pace to alter the psychic structure of the operator. It's not just about pronouncing words, it's about teaching with energy, vital company. The beloved Libro has some really interesting techniques for working with your breath and your mind. He talks about how the breath and the letters are used in contact rituals with the Holy Guardian Angel. He says that when you're reciting mantras, you need to keep a steady pace to change the way your mind works. It's not just about saying words, it's about using energy and intention to create a vibration. The old shamans knew this too. They used it in the rites of initiation for some Amazonian tribes. They had the neophytes hyperventilate so they could connect with the jungle spirits in the rituals of possession. In the Gudu, the adept is shown how to change their breathing until their body becomes A. The old shamans knew this principle too, and they used it in the rites of initiation of some Amazonian tribes. The neophytes were taught to hyperventilate in order to connect with the jungle spirits in the Gudu rituals of possession. The adept is guided to adjust his breathing until his body becomes a vessel for forces from outside. All of these traditions have one thing in common: they all believe that breathing is more than just a physiological act. It's a doorway to other realms, where our identities melt away and our consciousness splinters into a shadow dance. In some texts, Hermeticism notes that the breath all these traditions have something in common. They suggest that breathing is more than just a physiological act. It's like a doorway to other realms, where our identities melt away and our consciousness becomes fragmented. In some ancient texts, it said that the breath is a tool for creation and destruction. There's even a saying attributed to Hermes Trismegisto that suggests what's down can be up, showing that the same forces that can be used for growth can also be used for decline. People who have experienced different breathing states have described the feeling of being pulled into a current that drags you along. The Emerald Table, attributed to Hermes Trismegisto, is a really interesting creation and destruction tool. It mentions that what is low is how that is up, which implies that the same forces that can be used for ascension can be used for descent. Those who have experienced altered breathing states have described the feeling of being absorbed in a current that drags them beyond time. Some have talked about visions of impossible architectures of sounds that do not belong to any human language, of entities that observe from the dark corners of reality. If breathing can be used for lighting, for achieving expanded states of consciousness, it can also be used to explore the abysses of being. But the ancient ones. Some have shared beautiful visions of impossible architectures of sounds that defy any human language, of entities that observe from the dark corners of reality. If breathing can be used to light up our world and achieve expanded states of consciousness, it can also be used to explore the depths of our being. But, as the ancients warned, those who venture too far run the risk of no return. In the Necronomicon, there's a mention of respiratory rhythms that can open cracks in our perception of the world. One technique described is the emptiness breath, which involves reducing breathing until there's a beautiful connection between the self and the environment. They gently suggested that those who venture too far might not return. The Necronomicon mentions that there are rhythms of the breath that can open cracks in how we see the world. There's a technique called the emptiness breath that involves reducing your breathing until you feel a connection with the environment. Some say that when you practice this, you might feel like your identity is shifting as if a presence outside you starts to take over. This could be a metaphor, or it could be that breathing is a way to access hidden intelligences that have been there since the beginning of humanity. As always, the answer is in the books or in the. Some people say that when you practice, you can experience a shift in your sense of self, as if a new presence starts to take over your body. Is this just a metaphor, or is there something special about breathing that can unlock hidden parts of ourselves? The answer might be found in the experiences of those who have journeyed down these paths. They say that when you breathe with the right intention, it can open doors to realities that our regular minds can't fully understand. But they also warn that everything on the other side is beautiful. Breathing is like an art that we've forgotten, an art that can help us rise or descend to new heights. The experts who've journeyed to these realms share that when we breathe with the right intention, it can unveil truths that our regular minds can't quite grasp. But, they also gently remind us that the hidden beauty is everywhere. Breathing is an art that's been tucked away, an art that can carry us to new heights or help us connect with the deepest parts of ourselves. The question is, who's ready to take a leap of faith and cross the threshold? In Chapter 8, we meet the Kybleon and the amazing power of breathing. Everything is in motion, and the Kybleon in ancient Hermetic knowledge tells us that everything is vibration. There's no such thing as solid matter, really. The things we think of as solid are just energy dancing in different ways. The big question is, who's up for crossing over to the other side? Chapter 8, the Kybleon and the vibration respiratory. Nothing is still. Everything vibrates. The Kybleon in the ancient Hermetic knowledge says that everything is vibration. It's not just what the senses perceive as solid matter. It's also energy, oscillating. The universe itself is an invisible flow rhythms framework that shapes reality. If the vibration is the key to existence, then breathing is your most powerful tool. It's the mechanism that allows the practitioner to align with specific states of consciousness and with the frequency of what you want to manifest. This idea comes to us from the Egyptians. The ancient Egyptian teachings and Renaissance alchemical treatises tell us that our breath is more than just air, it's a vibration in movement. This hidden force is the key to understanding the difference between material and immaterial, dense and subtle. By taking a moment to focus on your breath, you can access the hidden forces that shape our experience in the Kybalion. Even the Renaissance alchemical treatise on the mysteries understood that breath is more than air. Movement is a hidden force that models human experience. In the Kybalion, the vibration principle states that the difference between material and immaterial, between the dense and the subtle, is nothing more than a matter of frequency. The higher the vibration, the closer to the divine. Find what emanates it like this. Rhythm of breath is not just a reflection of the internal state, but a tool with which the individual can rise, expand, and transform your environment. Be the Hermetic wise. They understood that every emotion, thought, and action is a vibration. It's all about finding your rhythm, your harmony with the universe. In ancient Egypt, they believed that the key to unlocking deeper knowledge wasn't just about collecting information, but about aligning your body with the cosmic rhythms. Breath was the key that unlocked this harmony. When you find your rhythm, you're in tune with your true self. It's a way to connect with the divine. Your breath is a tool for growth, for changing your environment, for becoming the person you've always dreamed of being. Emotions, thoughts, and words all have their own unique frequency. Fear, anger, and despair can seem chaotic, while peace and gratitude can be harmonious. But what many of us don't realize is that our breath is the bridge that can change these states. When you control your breath, you control your frequency, and your frequency shapes its destiny. Every word we say has a special energy, and it's so important to be aware of that. Some feelings, like fear, anger, and despair, can feel really chaotic. But others, like peace and gratitude, can have a really beautiful, harmonious energy. What many of us don't realize is that we can use our breath to change these feelings. When we control our breath, we can change our energy and our state. The rhythm of our breath and how we sync it with the universe is really something special. For thousands of years, different cultures have been learning about the power of rhythm. In ancient Egypt, they believed that the key to accessing higher knowledge wasn't just about collecting information. They thought that harmonizing our body with the rhythms of the cosmos was the way to go. The breath was the way we connected with these rhythms. The ancient Egyptians believed that the key to accessing higher knowledge wasn't just about collecting information. They thought that by harmonizing our bodies with the rhythms of the cosmos, we could tap into the energy of the planets, the moon's cycles, and the resonance of elements. The priests of Heliopolis used rhythmic breathing as a tool to expand their perception and enter trance-like states. In the hidden papyrus of the Temple of Thebes, there's a mention of a practice known as the breath of awakening. This practice involved inhaling in a specific pattern to synchronize with the energy of the god Solar. It's fascinating to think that people who mastered this technique could project their awareness outside their bodies, travel through time, and receive vision from the future. The same idea is also found in Hinduism and Buddhism. In the AUDIOBOOK, it says that when our breathing is irregular, our mind is unstable. But when our breathing is harmonious, our mind becomes tranquil, like a quiet lake that reflects the light of truth. It's interesting to think that the yogis practiced the breath in 4-stroke cycle, inhalation, exhalation, withholding, and pause. This rhythm is so important. It regulates vital energy and aligns with the vibrational patterns of the universe. Medieval alchemists, heirs of the Hermetic tradition, discovered that certain respiratory patterns can alter your perception of reality. Rosicrucian texts mention the practice of breathing. Breathing is a practice that has been passed down through the ages. It's a way to connect with the energy of the universe and bring our awareness to new heights. The ancient alchemists, inspired by the Hermetic tradition, discovered that certain breathing patterns could open doors to a deeper understanding of reality. Rosicrucian texts talk about a method called breathing of gold, where practitioners would load their bodies with the energy of the ether. They believed that this technique allowed them to expand their awareness beyond the limits of the material world and access a frequency of manifestation. It's like having a direct line to the power of creation, where the practitioner's will can influence the vibration of matter. Exercises for manifestation. Breathing is a great way to change your vibration. Your conscious mind is the key to aligning your reality with what you want to manifest. But it's not enough to just breathe. Your breathing should be intentional and rhythmic. Here's one of the most powerful exercises from the Hermetic tradition that's been adapted to. Exercises for breathing to help you manifest your desires. If breathing is the way we can change our vibration, then being aware of it is the key to aligning our reality with what we want. But it's not enough to just breathe. It's important to breathe intentionally and in a controlled way. One of the most powerful exercises we've inherited from the Hermetic tradition, adapted to modern coherence science, is the cardiac breathing exercise. Inhale 4 times, imagining energy entering your body like golden light expanding in each cell. Then, hold your breath for 4 times, allowing the vibration of energy to stabilize in your body. Next, exhale 6 times, visualizing all tension and discordant frequencies dissolving in the air. Or pause for 2 minutes. The next is the modern coherence science cardiac, which is a 4-time breathing technique that feels like energy entering the body like golden light expanding in each cell. After taking a breath for 4 times, you can stabilize the vibration of energy in the body. Then, for 6 exhalations, visualize all tension and discordant frequencies dissolving in the air. Finally, before the following inhalation, allow the vibration of the body to align with the rhythm of the universe. This pattern will induce a state of vibratory coherence, stabilize brain waves, and harmonize the electromagnetic field of the heart. In the Hermetic tradition, I believe that by maintaining this breathing with a clear intention, the practitioner could enter the desired frequency. Another method described in Kabbalistic texts is breathing in the divine name. In this technique, the practitioner must inhale deeply while imagine the word Elohim, Adonai, or YHVH, each one filled with powerful energy. Now, picture that same energy vibrating inside your body, making your body a part of that frequency. When you exhale, let go of any worries or disagreements that might be holding you back. Open your heart and let your being sync up with that vibration. These practices aren't just ideas. Modern science has shown that our breathing affects our nervous system, how we make neurotransmitters, and our body's electromagnetic energy. The wise ones of the past intuitively understood this, and now science is confirming it. Remember, breath is the key to tuning up your personal vibration. Extension of perception of reality through the Hermetic teachings is something I'm really interested in. I truly believe that anyone who understands the vibration principle will have reached the key to the domain. And that key is not in books or speeches, philosophy, or anything like that. It's in our breath. Our breath is the rhythm of our lives. Most of us breathe without thinking, without realizing that our breath marks the frequency with which our thoughts, emotions, and destiny resonate. But those of us who learn to breathe with conscience, with intention, and with harmony will discover something incredible. Hey, I've got a little secret to share with you. It's been said that the universe doesn't really respond to words, but rather, it's more in tune with the vibrations we put out. If everything is energy, and if everything is vibrating, then breathing is like our super powerful tool. When we master it, it's not just about us, we also have the amazing ability to tune into the beautiful melody of the creation. Chapter 9 Techniques of Ivis and Breathing Tantric. The breath is like fire, and fire is transformation. But this isn't something new, it's something that's been around for a long time. If you're interested in learning more, you're welcome to cross the hidden knowledge threshold in the Vedic tradition. Breathing is truly amazing. It's not just about keeping us alive. It's also about expanding and purifying what we call oxygen these days. In ancient times, wise people understood this energy as prana, a vital force that flows through everything. Those who are skilled in encouraging others also tend to have a strong energy flow within their bodies, awakening a sleeping force that can be likened to a snake coiled at the base of a column. This is what yogis of the past called the Kundalini. They didn't need temples or scriptures, their practices were all about refinement through pranayama, the science of breath control. It's not just a small part of their practice, but a key element that guides them. In the beautiful tradition of Tantric Yoga, there's a saying that goes, when your breath is erratic, your mind is unstable. When your breath is serene, your mind is at peace. This is why the yogi must take care to regulate their breathing, just like an auriga carefully guides its horses. It's not just about physical control, but also about gently guiding the flow of your inner awareness. Among the many pranayama practices, there are two that have been used for internal transmutation: fire breathing and alternate breathing. Both of these are wonderful tools that can help you adjust the vibratory state of your body. And they are both based on the same. The beautiful thing about the breath oscillation technique is that it creates a resonance field that unlocks the prana flow in Tantrism. While it's true that it's only a theory, it's a practice with tangible consequences. If you're interested in trying it out, you might want to know that those who have experienced a Kundalini awakening often describe a burning sensation at the base of the spine and an expansion in. The idea behind Tantrism is that breathing in a certain way can unlock a flow of energy called prana. While it's hard to prove, some people say that this practice can actually have real-life effects. If you've had a Kundalini awakening, you might have described it as a kind of burning at the base of your spine, an expansion in your skull, or a truly incredible feeling that just melts away all your worries. In the Kundalini tradition, this type of breathing is called yova, and it's all about making those inhalations and exhalations quick and steady. It's not about relaxing, but about activating your solar plexus. The skull represents a transcendent experience that can transform perception. In the Kundalini tradition, the technique known as Bastri involves rapid, rhythmic breathing that activates the solar plexus. It's like an energy explosion that purifies the body and awakens the mind. According to tantric texts, practitioners who perfect this technique can generate internal heat that's capable of burning the impurities of karma. For centuries, Tibetan monks have used a similar principle to survive at low temperatures without external help. In the West, this might seem like an inexplicable phenomenon, but in Tantrism, it's simply the manifestation of control over fire. Internal ACM is consumed by dense, and it allows the expansion of awareness. Alternating nada adana is a technique that's a little more subtle, but it's just as powerful. It's all about cleansing the known energy channels in the Indian tradition, called nadas. The Vedic texts say that there are thousands of these channels in the body, but the three that are especially important are Ida, Pingala, and their Sumna. Ida is the lunar channel, and it's all about introspection and being cool, which is linked to female energy. Pingala is the solar channel, and it's all about being warm and male. When these two are in perfect balance, energy can rise up through the Sumna, which is the central channel that goes across the spinal cord and leads to higher states of consciousness. Breathing alternate is all about finding that perfect balance, letting the Kundalini, that sleeping force at the base of the column, rise up without any hurdles. And it's not just something India has to offer. In Taoist tradition, breath control is seen as a form of refinement, like an art. Internal alchemy practitioners in Taoism see the body as a cauldron, a place where the three treasures, essence, energy, and spirit, can be transformed through breathing. In ancient texts, it's said that a long breath feeds life, while a short breath shortens it. For Taoists, longevity isn't just about genetics, but rather, it's a result of how you live your life. It's interesting how the terms fire channeling and transmutation are used in similar ways in Tantrism and Taoism. Many cultures consider these topics to be taboo, but they are really just about channeling sexual energy. In tantric texts, it's said that when the male and female breaths come together in the practitioner's body, it creates a state of lighting. But this union isn't about the physical act, it's about controlling the breath to direct sexual energy towards higher centers and refine it. Some texts suggest that the great tantric teachers reach these heights. The beautiful thing about perception is that it shows us a place where duality disappears, where time dissolves, and where breathing itself is no longer necessary. At Vijnana, Baba Tantra says that when the breath stops in the pause between inhalation and exhalation, the yogi glimpses the immensity. This is the point where breathing becomes a sacrament on the threshold, where the individual ceases to be a body and melts with primary vibration. Those who have explored this knowledge have left testimonies that undo the logic. It is said that some yogis have remained buried for days without breath in a state of suspension where consciousness is something that goes beyond our need for oxygen. There have been cases of monks who have slowed their metabolism to levels that are hard to imagine according to modern physiology. But the true purpose of these practices is not to demonstrate supernatural powers. It is to help us understand that breathing is a bridge between matter and spirit, between the visible and the invisible. Breath control is not a practice that must be taken lightly. In closed texts, there are warnings that if you don't prepare adequately, you may experience a physical collapse or a mental breakdown. There is also a belief that internal fire is at stake. If you're not careful, having too much wisdom can actually make you go crazy. So, in the beautiful tradition of Tantric, they teach that the path of breath is all about finding balance. It's not about forcing the energy, but rather opening to your body's natural rhythm. Since the beginning of time, people have used breathing to connect with their inner fire. It's not just about relaxing, but an art that transforms and creates something new. Those who have learned to breathe with real awareness have discovered a truth that few are brave enough to face: life and death are not as scary as they seem. In the beautiful cosmic chapter 10, Breathing and Mystical Death in the Mysteries of Antiquity, we explore the profound journey of dying before dying, a deeper initiation than physical death, but a transition, a release of our ordinary selves and the rebirth of our conscience. Those who have experienced this mystical death know that it opens a gateway to a life beyond the veil, a life that's not defined by external rites or sacrifices, but by the simple act of breathing. Breathing connects us to a deeper, more spiritual level of existence. Eternity is a journey that begins with learning to stop. When we convert it into an art of transcendence, we're able to see beyond time and space. In shamanic traditions, the mystical death was a threshold that the initiated had to cross to be reborn with a new name and identity. In Siberian shamanism, the candidate for shaman had to undergo a process in which his body was reduced to a minimum level of vital functioning through breathing techniques and fasting. It was said that during this process, his soul was dismembered in the spiritual world and destroyed by spirits. Then, it was rebuilt with new senses. Expanded perception of reality. Who returned from this state no longer cared about this. His breath had changed, and his vibration was different. In mysticism, the act of breathing plays a central role in the process of rebirth. The Gospel of Philip says that water baptism is only a shadow of a major mystery, baptism of fire and spirit. This baptism is not an external rite, but rather an internal process of purification. In this process, the initiate must learn to suspend their breathing until their consciousness detaches from its material anchor. In Gnosticism, Siciano was taught that the soul should. Hey, just a friendly reminder about the Cerrado breath technique. It's pretty amazing, and it's said to help you ascend through heaven after death. When you're about to take your last breath, that's when you'll experience the eternal breath. There are some texts out there, like the Tibet Bard, that talk about the journey of the soul after death. They are called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and they describe how the soul goes through different states after death. The bards say that when you're about to die, breathing in a certain way can open the door to visions that show where your soul is going after you die. But the great Tibetan yogi didn't wait for death to come. You're invited to experience this process through advanced practices of pranayama, which reduce their breathing until reaching suspension states in those who could consciously enter the states of the bard without abandoning the body. Physical. When breathing ceases, time ceases to exist, Patan Samba said. And in that suspension, the soul could see clearly what in life remained hidden. This principle is no stranger to experiences close to death, documented in modern times, in those who have been at the edge of death, whose bodies have been declared clinically inert for minutes or hours. Reports describe a beautiful, indescribable light and an expansion of consciousness where time seems to stop. Many people have said that just before the collapse, their physical breathing became very calm. It's as if your body knew you were crossing a threshold, maybe just a change in the rhythm of the cosmic breathing in alchemy. There's a saying that if you can control your breathing, you can control your death. Immortals, or Taoists, tried to avoid death, but they transcended it. In some ancient treatises, it says that their conscience became indistinguishable. The technique of the last conscious breath is a beautiful practice where the teacher feels the proximity of death. They inhale deeply and exhale with intention, guiding their essence towards the upper planes without losing consciousness. In this technique, those who have mastered it can choose the moment of their death and leave their body in a state of serenity. Even the Renaissance Europeans, who were absolute Rosicrucians and alchemists, studied the power of breathing in transformation processes. Michael Meyer and Paracelso mention this in their esoteric treatise. Breathing is a beautiful process that can help us find balance and clarity. For some people, like the Hermetista, it's a way to feel reborn. They believe that true growth and transformation happen in life, not just after death. In Sufism, a mystical Islamic tradition, breathing is seen as a way to connect with the divine. They believe that each breath is a new creation, a new moment of life, and each exhalation brings us back to the source. Some dervishes practice a type of breathing called annihilation breathing, where each exhalation is a way to let go of the old and embrace the new. The act of letting go of the ego and embracing a state of fana, where we dissolve into divinity, is truly mystical. It's about learning to die before our death. All these traditions ask the same question: can we hold our breath long enough to clear our minds? Can we suspend our breath and break through the perception limits of the ordinary? Those who have experienced a mystical death often describe a similar feeling when they return from the threshold. When the final moment arrives and the air is no longer necessary, your body gently fades away, leaving behind an essence that is ever present. It's like an expansion where everything is understood. Words seem to hold no time or limits. If breathing is like a loving rope that connects us to the physical world, then learning to gently release it is one of the greatest mysteries. It's not about stopping the breath for its own sake, but about recognizing your role as the last barrier between self and the vastness of infinity. In mystical texts, there's a common refrain: only those who have purified their mind can cross the mystical threshold without being consumed. In the old wisdom schools, they used to say that the fire that devours the ego is the same fire that illuminates the soul. They taught that the art of breathing was not for the impatient or impure, because sustaining one's last breath without fear, attachment, or despair was a prerequisite. They believed that by learning to breathe with total consciousness, one could learn to die without fear. And who dies without fear before dying? That person will discover that it has never really been. I Live Chapter 11, Breathing and Sounds Sacred. The universe is not silence from the primary explosion until the most subtle vibration of ether. Everything is pulsation, rhythm, sound. The world is like a beautiful symphony, where everything and everyone is connected. Every thought, every breath, every moment is a note in this grand chord of the universe. The ancient sages knew this, and it brings us such joy to know that voice is not just a way to communicate, but a way to create. In the esoteric tradition, breath is the vibration bearer. It's the invisible force that gives life to the words, the power to divine names, and the mantras that resonate in the temples of time. In the Vedic texts, it says that the Absolute was the Om mantra, and primordial is the vibration with which the cosmos was born. Over time, the wise risk that the hymns received became clear. Vedika understood that sound is not something that exists on its own. It's a creation of the human mind, but it's also a fundamental part of reality. When you pronounce a mantra correctly and modulate your breathing to focus on harmony with invisible forces, it can change the vibration of your being and the world around you. In Hinduism and Tantric Buddhism, the recitation of mantras is a spiritual practice based on the science of breath. Each syllable of a mantra is a different frequency, and the intonation of each syllable must be synchronized. When you breathe in and out, it's like you're letting sound and breathing become one. In the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali talks about how repeating a mantra with the right breathing technique can take you to these amazing states of samadhi, where your consciousness expands beyond your body. And it's not just in Eastern traditions that we see the power of sound and breathing. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the closed word is also seen as a vehicle for the spirit. In the Bible, God says, "Let there be light," and then there was light. The verb isn't just a simple metaphor, it's a beautiful way to describe the creation of the world. I'm curious, do you feel the divine vibration in action? Hebrew mystical names of God aren't just labels, but vibrational codes that contain the Creator's frequencies. The Kabbalists taught that pronouncing the Tetragrammaton, YHVH, with adequate breathing could align one's being with the very structure of reality. In Christian monasteries, the Song of the Psalms and the Gregorian hymns was not only a liturgical practice, but a tuning method. The monks discovered that by singing their prayers in certain rhythmic tones and patterns, they could enter high states. Modern research has confirmed this. Have you ever wondered about the acoustics of cathedrals? The Gothic designers had a very special purpose in mind when they created these spaces. They wanted to use the architecture to make the human voice sound even more beautiful. In fact, the effect was so amazing that it made it seem like songs would never end. The designers weren't just thinking about how things looked, they were also thinking about how sound and breathing could be used to create a spiritual experience. In Sufism, a practice in Islam, people repeat the names of God while breathing in a certain way. This helps them feel a deep connection with the divine. The dervishes, a group of Islamic mystics, use a combination of breathing, movement, and singing to create a beautiful and spiritual experience. A field vibration transports them beyond the ordinary perception, into a realm of pure harmony. The great Sufi poet Rumi wrote about this when he said, "When the breath binds to the name, the soul converts to music, and that melody melts with the immensity." The Taoists understood that the resonance of the breath can act as a healing tool. In the practice of 6 healing sounds, certain sounds, pronounced with the right breathing, were taught to harmonize the internal organs and unlock the circulation of each sound. Each sound was associated with an element and an emotion state with a specific vibration that could restore body balance. The lovely grimoires of medieval magic insisted that the words of power only had effects and were pronounced with the correct modulation of breath. In the Lameggitan, it is said that the names of the spirits must be recited with a precise breathing technique. Then, the encounter, I insufflate life, the invocation. The alchemists talked about the breath of the magician, the breath of intention that converted a simple word into a vibrational command that could alter the matter. Modern science begins to rediscover what the ancients always knew. I'm so excited to tell you about some really interesting studies on the effects of music on the brain. There's this beautiful harmonic song that Tibetan monks and Mongols sing, and it's been shown to help people relax or feel more energized. It's amazing how music can stimulate the production of endorphins and change how we feel. And here's another fascinating thing, when we sing or hum a tune, it can actually help stabilize our heart rate and create a kind of electromagnetic field that affects those around us. It's like the universe is vibrating. So, if everything in the universe is vibrating, and we're all connected, then breathing is like our own personal instrument. We can use it to tune into our own frequency and feel our best. Have you ever thought about how your breath and voice can change the way you experience reality? It's amazing how matter can be influenced by the vibrations we create. It's like we have this incredible power to shape our world through sound. But have you ever wondered why we were taught to talk without thinking about our breathing or to say words without really meaning them? Maybe it's because when someone understands the power of their breath and voice, they can't be controlled. The wise people of the world have left us clues about this. In the beautiful hymns of the hidden psalms and the soothing mantras that echoed through the temples of stone, there's more to it than meets the eye. It's not just about reading them, it's about truly living them. You have to breathe them and allow the vibrations to resonate within you until your very cells sing with the harmonious sound of the universe. When your breath becomes a verb, when the sound transforms from mere noise into creation, then you'll understand that we're all part of a grand melody, a never-ending chapter 12. Breathing is the gateway to the universe's manifestation. The universe responds to the rhythm of your breath. It's not just a biological process, but a vibrational code that connects us all. That determines what we attract, what we create, and what we experience most often. The beautiful thing is that there's a truth underlying all teachings of the law of attraction, from ancient to modern. It's so interesting to think about how esoteric reality isn't fixed, but rather a moldable resonance. The breath is a wonderful tool that allows us to tune our frequency to our desires. More deeply, yogis of India taught that the mind follows the breath. A thought without control is the reflection of a breath. Disorderly, but when the rhythm of your breath is harmonious, you'll feel your mind really connect with the flow of the universe. In the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, it says that when you breathe evenly, you'll have a clear sense of reality. This is the basis of pranayama, the practice of breath control. It's not just about breathing in and out, but also about creating positive internal and external changes. The AUDIOBOOK says that if you're in control of your breathing, you're in control of your destiny. And this isn't just a metaphor. Your breathing is like a bridge connecting your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. Every time you breathe in, it's like a quiet affirmation, and every time you breathe out, it's like you're giving orders to your body and the universe. The wise Vedics understood that reality is like a mirror of the energy we put out, and they knew that this energy can be programmed to take different forms. In the Hermetic tradition, it's said that thought breath is so important. It's what gives our ideas substance. The Kybalion says that vibration is the most basic principle of all creation. If everything vibrates and moves, then the way we breathe is the key to changing the frequency of our existence. In the past, alchemists talked about the breath of will, a principle according to which the energy of the intention only becomes operational when it is infused with a rhythm and breathing. It's so wonderful to see that this knowledge has been rediscovered in modern times. The name of the law of attraction is really something, isn't it? But what many people don't know is that visualizing without adequate breathing is like trying to light a fire without oxygen. The subconscious doesn't respond to empty words, but to states of vibration. These states are induced largely through breath. When breathing is synchronized with a mental image, the body enters a resonance. It's important to understand that reality. We've learned a lot from experiments on cardiac coherence. It's amazing how the respiratory rhythm influences the signal electromagnetic of the heart. This signal can even modify the way the brain processes information. Studies at the EAT Institute show that positive emotions, when combined with deep, rhythmic breathing, generate a more orderly energy field. This increases the probability of attracting events that line up with that state deep down. This is something that scientists have always been able to agree on. Tibetan monks of Vajrayana Buddhism have been using a special breathing technique to create powerful manifestations. They breathe in, imagining the light of the universe entering your body, and breathe out, projecting your intention into the world. It's said that this technique allows you to bring your dreams into reality. You can make changes in the world around you. You don't need to be a wizard, just focus on the right frequency. The Cabal believed that breathing in a certain way while saying divine names could open doors to higher states of consciousness and air blessings. Kabbalists said that each time you breathe out, you should focus on the intention that will direct the energy where you want it to go. In Hebrew mystical texts, it said that the breath of man. It's truly amazing how our ability to create is so similar to the divine breath. This beautiful principle isn't just found in mystical traditions. Modern neuroscience has also revealed something incredible. When we breathe consciously, it changes the activity in the amygdala and the limbic system, which are the brain areas responsible for processing emotions and memory. A study published in the journal Frontiers in Human Neuroscience showed that the controlled breathing is really important because it can help us feel less anxious and adjust to new beliefs more easily. If we think of our subconscious mind as the ground where our realities are planted, then breathing is like the water that helps those seeds grow. For a long time, visualization practices have included breathing as an important part of them. The great masters of the practice taught us that it's best to visualize without emotion because emotion, it's really interesting how we can only fully feel emotion when our body is in a state of coherence. There are some really old methods that suggest we imagine the goal we want to achieve and then hold the breath for a few moments to really feel the sensation. Then, we exhale slowly, as if we're sending our intention to the universe. In shamanic traditions, they also use breathing to change how we perceive reality. In many indigenous cultures, shamanism teaches that when you're ready, let's start the demonstration. First, you'll need to tune your consciousness to the spirit of the world. This is very simple. All you have to do is focus on your breathing. In ayahuasca ceremonies, shamans use breathing patterns to stabilize the trip, visionary, and focus the intention of the experience. You can do this too. Breathing is a powerful tool, but most people never use it consciously. This may be because no one taught them that reality is not a fact fixed, but a vibration that can be. Most people breathe in a way that's all over the place, and that's okay. It's a sign that they are dealing with some internal stuff that shows up in their daily lives. But here's the good news: if you learn to breathe with intention, you'll see that your world can start with change. Everything is energy, everything is vibration, so the key isn't in words or thoughts on their own. It's in the breath that shows your love for life. Each time you breathe in, you can soak up power. Every time you breathe out, you can make a decree that shapes. The existence of breathing is so important, and it's not just about taking a breath. It's about understanding that everything in our world is connected. It's about recognizing that everything that exists is an extension of its own vibration. Chapter 13, Secrets of the Breathing. In ancient societies, there were secrets that were passed down through generations. These secrets were never written down for everyone to see. Instead, they were shared through secret rites and passed from masters to students in a way that was hidden from the public. There are hidden temples in gestures and symbols that only the initiated can interpret. One of the most fundamental mysteries is the power of breath. It's not just about breathing air into your lungs, it's about using your breath as a vibrational key that can open doors. From the temples of Egypt to the Masonic lodges, people have understood that breath is a way to transform, a way to connect with hidden forces. It's like a hidden treasure that the guardian Rosicrucians of an alchemical society are searching for. The Hermetic tradition knew that breathing was the basis of internal transmutation. In the texts attributed to Christian Rosenau, legendary founder of the order, we learn about a sacred breath that allows the practitioner to modify their vibratory state. In Pharma Fraternitatis, it is mentioned that true alchemists do not transmute only the Promethean gold, but also the nature of the human being through internal processes. It is said that the most advanced dominated a type of breathing was a part of their practice that allowed them to enter mystical ecstasy states. In these states, they could receive knowledge directly of the upper planes without the need for intermediaries. The heirs of the constructive traditions of mystery schools also integrated breathing in their rituals. In the highest grades, initiation was a very special part of the practice. It was taught that breath control was essential for the pronunciation of certain words of power. These words connected the consciousness of the initiate with the way the universe vibrates isn't an accident. In old initiation rituals, people would practice breathing techniques before sharing the secrets of the order. Some Masonic documents say that breathing is a way to concentrate, but it can also help us access different states of consciousness. This makes it easier to understand Masonic symbols. The Templars, who are a bit of a mystery, also left clues about using breathing techniques. It's said that many of the most respected gentlemen in the order were into pranayama techniques similar to those of the Tantric yoga. They combined breathing with the recitation of sacred formulas to channel them in their bodies. Some scholars have found parallels among Templar rituals and practices, esoteric Sufi practices, in which breathing is used to induce states of lighting. Louis-Claude Saint-Martin founded the Martinist order in the 17th century. Martin is done. Reference to respiratory exercises designed to open the eyes of the soul. Saint Martin believed that we were all asleep in a material illusion, and that breath control was one of the ways of awakening the real reality of our spirits. In his writings, he mentions that initiates had to practice conscious breathing before performing physical operations. He believed that only in a high vibrational status could true spiritual manifestations be produced. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is one of the most influential groups in Western occultism. They integrated breath into their practices and rituals. In their internal texts, they teach that the vibration of divine names is intoned with a specific breathing technique to generate a protective energy field and empower the individual. Aleister Crowley, a Golden Dawn member, found his own esoteric current described in his Liber OZ. He described the importance of breath control for magic operations. Advanced. According to Crowley, breathing is the key to unlocking access at higher levels of consciousness and coming into contact with spiritual entities. You may be interested to know that even medieval alchemists knew about breathing as a transmutation tool. The Mutus Liber, an alchemical text from the 15th century, references this technique. There are also enigmatic images in the text that have been interpreted as indications about techniques for breathing that are hidden in it. Have you ever seen the illustration of the alchemist? He's depicted holding a bottle while breathing in deeply, as if he's capturing the invisible essence. Some scholars have suggested that this symbolizes the capture of prana, or vital energy, through breathing. In modern Gnosticism, particularly in the teachings of Samuel Unw, breathing is talked about as a tool to awaken the Kundalini and activate the centers of body energy. They say that conscious breathing, combined with meditation and vocalization, is a great way to take care of yourself. The practices of Demant could take you to a whole new world of perception that goes beyond the mind. Some of its disciples have said that they've experienced incredible things like astral travel and hyperconsumption, which are things they've kept secret. They've never taught these openly to humanity. The answer might lie in the fear of spiritual elites, who are afraid that this knowledge will fall into the hands of those who might not be prepared to handle it responsibly. In many societies, secrets are warnings that, hey, just a friendly reminder that improper breathing can sometimes lead to some pretty intense experiences, like feeling totally overwhelmed, losing energy, or even having your sense of self disappear. Some staff members have shared that when they are not fully prepared, they might start to feel like their bodies are changing, lose track of time, or even enter a state of paranoia. But our wise knowledge guardians have figured out that breathing is like a key that opens doors, and not all doors lead to the light. There are some really high vibrations out there, and it's all part of the journey. Depending on our intention and preparation, vibrations and breath can lead us to both. The initiated in the old mysteries didn't just learn to breathe. I learned to breathe with intention, to load each inhalation with meaning and exhaling as if it were ins. Life suffers under the will of those who dominate this technique. Not only do those who acquire this technique gain greater vitality or mental clarity, but they can also alter the reality itself with the power of their breath. Today, this knowledge has. I'm so excited to share this journey with you. We are venturing out into the world of surface, where the secrets of society have been kept hidden for centuries. We're at a time in humanity's evolution where the veil is being lifted, and it's a beautiful thing. But here's the question we all ask ourselves: what will you do with this knowledge? Now, we know that breathing isn't just the air entering and leaving our lungs. It's a vibration, a power, the oldest technology of the spirit. Those who master it will discover the border in the vast space between what's possible and what's impossible. There's a whisper between breaths. Chapter 14, Breathing and the Reprogramming of the Mind. Thought is like a river, but breathing is the channel that guides it. What we think of as the mind is really just a continuous flow of energy. It's like modeling invisible patterns that shape how we perceive memory and our identity. But these patterns aren't set in stone. We can change them, transform them from the old esoteric. Until modern neuroscience came along, people talked about a connection between breathing and the mind in different ways. In the Vedic texts, pranayama was seen as a way to transcend the conditioning of the mind. It wasn't just about breathing better, but about using the breath as a tool to shape and nurture our awareness. In the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says that when our breath is pure, our mind becomes like a calm lake, reflecting reality as it is. This suggests that our breath and our mind are connected. It's important to remember that the body is a living, breathing thing, and it's always changing. It's not a static thing. It's a vibratory field that can be harmonized with rhythm. And it's true, studies have shown that the way we breathe affects the brain. When we're feeling scared or worried, our breathing gets faster and more shallow. But when we breathe slowly and deeply, it helps us feel more at ease. Your brain is like a muscle. When you're in a state of alertness, your brain is working overtime to help you fight or flee. But when you breathe deeply and rhythmically, it can help reduce your cortisol levels. This helps balance the activity in the limbic system, which can make you feel more clear-headed. Studies on neuroplasticity have shown that your brain can change the way it processes thoughts, emotions, and reactions throughout your life. One of the most direct ways to access this PL is through automatic breathing. When you take a moment to breathe in and out, focusing on your breath and how it makes you feel. When you breathe in deeply, it's like you're connecting with the creative, memory, and intuitive parts of your brain. Some people even say that diaphragmatic breathing can help you reach a state of deep meditation and bring your subconscious mind into focus. In the Hermetic tradition, they believe that breathing is like a bridge connecting your conscious and subconscious minds. The Kabbalah also says that the universe is mental, which is pretty cool if you ask me. It's like we're all in this together, and the world around us is a reflection of our inner world. When we breathe, it's like we're taking a deep breath of fresh air, and that changes how we see things. It's no surprise that alchemists talked about breathing when they were working to change things into something else. Today, we might say that they were breathing new life into their thoughts. Buddhist monks from the Dzogchen lineage have a really beautiful way of explaining this. They say that our regular mind is like a loop of tape, and it keeps making the same patterns over and over. These patterns make it feel like there's a separate me inside, but it's all in our head. If we practice breathing in a certain way, we can tap into this inner strength and peace. Let's undo this structure and access the luminous mind. The state of perception cures, and without ego distortions, it's said that those who dominate this practice can be released from traumas, beliefs, limitations, and conditioning in minutes. All you have to do is synchronize your breathing with the vibration of emptiness. But the mental reprogramming through breathing is not just a concept, it's real. In bioid experiments, Bach has been observed that breathing can change thinking patterns when inducing states of relaxation. Deep psychologists have found that breathing techniques controlled may be more effective than traditional cognitive therapy for anxiety management and depression, which is great news. The old practices of mental reprogramming in schools of mystery were based on the use of breathing together with intention, which is really interesting. Rosicrucian manuscripts mention that visualizing a symbol or idea must be accompanied by a deep inhalation to be integrated into the psyche, which is fascinating. They also said that exhalation was the moment in which the new programming was settled, which is a very helpful way of looking at it. In the subconscious, The Sufi practitioner embraced a similar approach in their exercises of dictation. With each repetition of the Sarado name, they would breathe deeply, allowing the sound vibration to gently permeate their being. It's said that the breath of a believer is their most powerful prayer because each inhalation has the power to transform the mind. Joe Dispenza's studies have explored how breathing can be used to modify neurological activity. There are documented cases of people who have experienced this phenomenon. Have you tried reconfiguring your mind and body through breathing, display, and intention in scanners? It's amazing how these techniques can activate brain regions associated with regeneration and perception. In Taoism, we talk about embryo breathing, a technique in which the practitioner mimics the way in which the Kato breathes in the belly. It's said that this technique allows the body and mind to regenerate and return awareness to a state of original purity. The Taoists have some really interesting things to say about the mind and its connection to the energy of the body. They believe that by making adjustments to our thoughts, we have the incredible power to change our state of mind. They also teach that the relationship between breathing and intention is a key part of the law of attraction. It's fascinating to know that our thoughts have a measurable impact on the electromagnetic field of the heart and brain, and this impact gets even stronger when we combine it with breathing. The practices of more advanced demonstration are all about taking this a step further by going beyond just visualizing a desire. They use breathing to connect with the universe. Your mind is like a builder, and breathing is the tool that helps you build your reality. When you learn to breathe from the heart, you open up your mind to new possibilities. You can change your perception, feel different emotions, and see your life differently. But most of us just breathe without thinking about it, and we don't realize that what we breathe in and out can shape our future. The old wise ones knew that breath is the key to change. In the temples of Egypt, in the caves of the Himalayas, and in the Tibetan monasteries and hermetic lodges, people used to teach secret lessons about the importance of breathing. They taught that breathing is the key to the mind, and that anyone who learned to control their breathing could find their way to a better life. Chapter 15, The Last Respite. The breath is the first thing I know I received at birth, and the last thing I will know when I die. Between those two moments, life is a journey where we learn to take action in the present moment. Hey, everyone! Let's take a moment to think about how we breathe. Most of us don't really think about it, but every time we breathe in or out, we're creating something new. It's amazing how breathing connects us to everything around us. It's more than just a biological process, it's like a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It's the thread that ties our souls to our bodies, the compass that guides us through life. And even though death is part of life, it's not the end. It's more like a transition, a threshold we cross to reach a new journey. In the wisdom schools, they teach you to control your last breath so that you can leave this world without fear, without attachment, and without resistance. In Hermetic texts, it says that anyone who knows the art of breathing knows the art of death because death is just a change in the frequency of being. Breathing is the tool that can guide that transition. Yogas of India have taught since time immemorial that your last breath is not a sigh of exhaustion, but a release of vital energy. In the beautiful teachings of the Brihadaranyaka or the Paisal, it's said that when our soul leaves our body, it carries on throughout our life. If we've been breathing with chaos and confusion, our soul can find peace and clarity by breathing with harmony. This is why, in the loving tradition of Tantric Buddhism, the final practice of a teacher is Mamadhi. This is the moment when yidam leaves the body, exhaling its last breath with complete mastery. In the compassionate teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, this transition is known as the Bardo Total. Tibetan of the Dead is a beautiful book that talks about what happens to our consciousness after we die. It says that when we stop breathing, our mind goes through a transition phase where we might see light, or have visions of other beings or landscapes. If we have practiced meditative breathing during our life, we can easily transition through this phase without being overwhelmed by fear or illusions. According to the teachings of the mystics of Islam, the way we breathe in our final moments determines our destiny in the next life. In the Sufi tradition, the final breath represents the moment when the soul returns to its source. They say that breathing is like a divine loan, a breath that belongs to God, and that, when the final breath comes, the soul returns to its source. Jalal al-Rumi wrote, "When you exhale, my dear, don't think it's the end. It's just the breeze that appears, the sail of my body, so that my soul can merge with mine, infinite." The ancient Egyptians believed that the last breath contained the essence of the weapon, and therefore their funerary rituals included practices for. When you're helping someone who's passed away, it's important to make sure they're breathing in the right way and that their energy is going in the right direction. Some KMM temples say that pharaohs were taught breathing techniques to help them go on to the next life. If you can match your breath with the vibration of Ma, the goddess of order, you might be able to cross over into the afterlife without getting lost in the shadows of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. In Christian tradition, Jesus is thought to have done this. He gently exhaled his last breath on the cross, uttering the words, "Father, I entrust my spirit into your hands." This was not an act of resignation, but a conscious act of surrender. It was a beautiful demonstration that death does not have the power to hold us. In the Gospels, the Gnostics suggest that Jesus' breath did not cease when he died, but rather, his spirit continued to vibrate in the divine breath that permeates the universe. Experiences near death have revealed that when breathing stops, consciousness does not take over, but rather, it expands. Those who have returned from the clinical death describe a feeling of incredible liberation. They say they feel like they are floating without any weight, as if they are being absorbed by a light that's indescribable. Many of them agree that just before they collapsed, their breathing changed. It became serene, as if their body knew it was giving itself to a major process. But the real breathing teaching isn't just about death. It's also about life. If breathing is the bridge to the other side, then learning to breathe consciously is learning to die every day. It's important to release the ego and let go of the illusions that so many mystics have talked about. They've said that death isn't just at the end of life, but at every moment that our self dissolves into the vastness of the present. In alchemy, there's a beautiful talk about the little girl, death, and the dissolution of the ego in the fire of the spirit. This isn't just a physical event, but a state where our personal identity fades and we're left with just our conscience, pure and unspoiled. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember that you're not alone. There's a sense of overwhelming unity with everything around you. No matter what you're going through, know that you're not alone. There's no need to worry or be afraid. You're just a part of the bigger picture, and the universe is moving through you. Every breath you take is a chance to connect with the infinite possibilities of life. Each inhalation reminds you that you have the power to grow and expand. Every exhalation brings you closer to the mystery of life. Let go of your worries and doubts. The resistant separation who learns to breathe with full awareness no longer fears death because he understands that it has never been alone. A body that is the same essence as the breath that has blown from Del Cosmos since the beginning of time. When the last breath arrives, who has learned this art will not fight or resist. Only closing your eyes and taking a last inhalation will allow you to become the wind that dances between the stars.